Formula One fans, what if the biggest threat to Mercedes this season isn't Ferrari's speed, but Mercedes itself? What if the team leading both championships has quietly become its own worst enemy? In a stunning series of statements, Toto Wolff publicly dismissed Ferrari's recent victories, claiming they were not the result of Ferrari's superiority, but simply the consequence of Mercedes throwing away races through reliability failures. Yet, behind those confident words lies a completely different reality. Mercedes is facing an engine reliability crisis that could force multiple grid penalties before the end of the season, while Ferrari sits in an almost perfect strategic position with fresh power unit options ready to be introduced without any penalty at all. Suddenly, what looked like a comfortable championship lead could turn into one of the most dramatic title battles in recent Formula One history. And as if that wasn't enough, Mercedes has also confirmed that there will be no team orders between George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, opening the door for Ferrari to capitalize on every opportunity. Let's break down why this story could completely change the direction of the 2026 Formula One World Championship. Toto Wolff sparked enormous controversy after speaking to Racing News 365, where he openly argued that Ferrari's victories this season were not earned because Ferrari had become the fastest team. Instead, according to the Mercedes boss, those wins happened because Mercedes failed to convert dominant performances into victories. Wolff explained that Mercedes began the season in outstanding form, with the close integration between the chassis and power unit allowing the team to dominate much of the opening phase of the championship. However, repeated reliability failures destroyed what should have been an even larger points advantage. According to Wolff, Mercedes has already lost somewhere between 70 and 80 championship points because of mechanical failures and retirements. Considering the team already enjoys a significant lead in the Constructors' Championship, those missing points would have made the title fight virtually impossible for Ferrari or any other rival to recover from. It is a remarkable admission from the Austrian team principal because it reveals that Mercedes believes it has been comfortably the strongest package throughout much of the season. Yet reliability has prevented that dominance from appearing in the standings. Wolff specifically pointed to Ferrari's victories in Barcelona and Silverstone. He argued that Mercedes lost control of both races due to circumstances largely outside their ideal execution. In Barcelona, a poorly timed safety car compromised Mercedes' strategy, allowing Ferrari to capitalize on the changing race conditions. At Silverstone, Kimi Antonelli's reliability problems dramatically altered the outcome and handed Ferrari another golden opportunity. From Wolff's perspective, Ferrari simply benefited from Mercedes' mistakes rather than defeating them on outright pace. Naturally, those comments have generated huge reactions among Ferrari supporters. Many fans believe the remarks underestimate Ferrari's impressive progress throughout the season. The Italian team has introduced several successful upgrades that significantly improved both performance and consistency. Ferrari has steadily reduced the performance gap to Mercedes while McLaren has also continued to bring competitive developments. As a result, what initially looked like a one-team championship has transformed into a far more competitive fight. Despite Wolff's confidence, the numbers tell an interesting story. After 11 Grands Prix, Mercedes has collected 8 victories and leads the Constructors' Championship with 379 points. Ferrari follows with 302 points, while McLaren remains third with 220 points. On paper, Mercedes remains the clear favorite. However, Formula One championships are rarely decided on paper. Reliability, strategic decisions, and momentum often prove just as important as outright speed. And this is where the biggest concern for Mercedes begins. Mercedes Vice Team Principal Bradley Lord has delivered perhaps the most significant admission of the entire season. Speaking openly about the team's power unit situation, Lord acknowledged that engine-related grid penalties have become almost unavoidable during the second half of the championship. Because Mercedes has already consumed so many engine components during the opening races, continuing until the final round without exceeding the allocation appears extremely unlikely. Lord explained that Mercedes engineers and strategists are now carefully evaluating the best moment to introduce additional power unit components. The objective is no longer avoiding penalties altogether. Instead, the team is trying to minimize the damage by selecting circuits where overtaking opportunities make recovering positions easier. Kimi Antonelli's situation is especially difficult. The young Italian has already used his fourth set of engine components, meaning any additional components will automatically trigger grid penalties under Formula One regulations. George Russell finds himself in an almost equally complicated position. Following the catastrophic engine failure during qualifying at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Russell's power unit allocation has also become critically stretched. Russell's season has been plagued by reliability issues. He retired from the Canadian Grand Prix because of battery problems. He experienced energy deployment failures at both Silverstone and Spa. Then came the devastating water leak discovered during qualifying in Hungary, permanently destroying another engine and forcing Mercedes into an even more difficult strategic situation. Antonelli has suffered similar frustration. His retirement in Barcelona also resulted from battery-related issues, costing Mercedes valuable championship points. Every one of these failures has slowly pushed the team closer to unavoidable engine penalties. Now Mercedes faces an incredibly delicate strategic decision. On paper, Monza appears to be the ideal circuit for taking a grid penalty. The long straights and overtaking opportunities make it easier for fast cars to recover from the back of the grid. However, Monza is also Antonelli's home race. Asking one of Italy's brightest young stars to start from the very back in front of thousands of passionate home supporters would create an uncomfortable and embarrassing situation for both the driver and the team. Because of that, Toto Wolff has admitted that Baku is becoming an increasingly attractive alternative. Azerbaijan also offers strong overtaking opportunities thanks to its exceptionally long main straight, while removing the emotional pressure associated with Monza. Mercedes believes sacrificing positions in Baku could ultimately prove less damaging than disappointing Italian fans during Antonelli's biggest home event. Ironically, this complicated Mercedes situation arrives at exactly the wrong time because Ferrari is preparing one of its most important technical upgrades of the entire season. Ferrari has managed its power unit allocation extremely efficiently throughout the championship. Unlike Mercedes, the Scuderia has only used 3 engines, giving the team far greater flexibility during the remaining races. That means Ferrari expects to introduce its updated power unit at Monza without receiving any grid penalty. For Ferrari, this represents an enormous strategic advantage. While Mercedes debates where to accept penalties, Ferrari can focus entirely on maximizing performance. Introducing an upgraded engine without sacrificing grid position could provide exactly the boost needed to continue reducing Mercedes' championship lead. Meanwhile, Mercedes is not standing still. Inside Mercedes' high-performance powertrains headquarters, engineers have reportedly been completing extensive testing of an upgraded 6-cylinder engine package. According to reports emerging from within the team, the development work has produced encouraging results. Engineers have redesigned important elements of the turbocharger, including modifications to the turbine blade configuration and angle, while simultaneously improving combustion efficiency inside the engine itself. Combined with a newly developed Petronas fuel formulation, Mercedes reportedly expects noticeable gains in horsepower without increasing fuel consumption. Perhaps even more importantly, engineers believe they have addressed many of the reliability weaknesses that have repeatedly compromised the team's season. Improved performance is certainly welcome, but reliability remains Mercedes' highest priority. An extra few horsepower means very little if another engine fails before the checkered flag. Mercedes knows that solving durability issues could ultimately determine whether it secures both world championships or watches Ferrari stage one of the greatest comebacks in recent Formula One history. Reports also suggest that Mercedes-Benz Group CEO Ola Kalinius strongly supports introducing the upgraded 5th power unit as quickly as possible, potentially as early as Monza, despite the risk of penalties. His view appears straightforward. Waiting too long could cost even more valuable championship points. But perhaps the most fascinating development involves Mercedes' approach to its own drivers. Bradley Lord made it absolutely clear that Mercedes has no intention of introducing team orders between George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. According to Lord, the team's philosophy remains unchanged. If either Mercedes driver has the opportunity to win a race, that driver will be allowed to fight for victory. The Constructors' Championship remains the team's highest priority, and internal competition will continue. That decision could carry enormous consequences for the Drivers' Championship. Without team orders, Russell and Antonelli are likely to continue racing each other aggressively whenever they find themselves close together on track. Every battle between the two Mercedes drivers creates opportunities for Ferrari to score additional points. Every internal fight increases the possibility of lost positions, strategic compromises, or even costly mistakes. For Ferrari, this situation could hardly be more favorable. While Mercedes manages reliability concerns, evaluates penalty strategies, and allows its drivers to compete freely, Ferrari can concentrate on executing clean race weekends and maximizing every scoring opportunity. Mercedes undoubtedly remains the fastest overall package on many circuits. 8 victories from the opening 11 races clearly demonstrate that. However, championships are rarely decided solely by speed. Reliability, consistency, and intelligent strategy often prove equally decisive over a long season. That is exactly why Toto Wolff's comments have attracted so much attention. On one hand, he confidently insists Ferrari's victories resulted from Mercedes' own failures rather than Ferrari's pace. On the other hand, he openly admits Mercedes has already thrown away between 70 and 80 championship points because of reliability. Those two statements together reveal a team that still believes it is the strongest on the grid, but also recognizes that its greatest weakness may ultimately cost it the title. Ferrari, meanwhile, finds itself in perhaps the strongest strategic position it has enjoyed all season. With a healthier engine allocation, an upgraded power unit ready for deployment, and a rival increasingly threatened by penalties, the Scuderia suddenly has genuine reasons to believe the championship fight is far from over. The coming races could therefore define the entire 2026 Formula One season. Will Mercedes successfully solve its reliability crisis before additional failures force damaging grid penalties? Can the upgraded engine deliver both more power and greater durability? Will Toto Wolff choose Monza or Baku for those inevitable penalties? And perhaps most importantly, can Ferrari fully exploit Mercedes' growing internal challenges to launch a remarkable championship comeback? One thing is now absolutely certain. Despite Mercedes leading the standings, confidence inside the team is being tested like never before. Ferrari senses an opportunity, McLaren continues pushing with new developments, and every remaining Grand Prix has become increasingly significant. The battle for both championships is still very much alive, and what once appeared to be a comfortable Mercedes march toward another title is rapidly becoming one of the most unpredictable and fascinating Formula One seasons in recent memory. Stay tuned, because the biggest twists of this championship may still be waiting just around the next corner.